Welcome, everybody. Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. As the hosts have mentioned, we know a little bit about e-commerce. In fact, I've spoken and our staff have spoken at dozens of e-commerce focused events around the world, and we've worked with over 200 e-commerce companies, including large brands. I'm just going to jump right into the content because I want to leave as much time as possible for questions and answers. And I understand that the slides are going to be available in my original English as well as a Spanish translation for you afterwards. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the notes. So let's talk about e-commerce conversion. What is the e-commerce experience? Well, really, we have a standard view of what an e-commerce catalog looks like and how it works. And it's basically made up of a series of different pages. So I'm going to cover what I call worst practices as well as best practices for each of those pages. And in addition, the first thing I'll talk about is the page shell, and at the end, the information architecture, or how your site is organized. So let's start with the page shell. One of the things that we see often is a very, very busy background. So not the page itself, which is in white right here, but in this case, they sell horse supplies, and for some reason, they decided to have wood paneling on the sides of the page. Now, our eye doesn't know that we're looking at something on a computer screen. Our eye thinks we're looking at the real world, like through a window. And so we look at that wood wall behind it and look for detail. Is there anything interesting? What's going on back there? And all of that attention is wasted on looking at the sides of the page, probably not where you want people to look. There's a competitor to that company that does it better, and all they did was make the sides boring. Now you have no reason to look at the gray areas on the side of the page. You're looking at the page. And that seems like a very basic thing, but unfortunately, a lot of companies, especially ones that are concerned with brand, often don't do this. Big for a while, Armani Exchange, this was their website. Now the page is that small part in the middle, and the giant pictures of the models on each side are the page background. Now, what are you looking at? Well, you're certainly not looking at the page when you can look at giant pictures of people. So they're a little confused. So my question to them would be, are you trying to sell stuff online, or do you want to put up billboards and advertise at people so they're aware of your brand? Presumably, if they show up on your website, they already know your brand. So you don't need billboards anymore. So we criticized them. I had this in one of my presentations, and shortly after that, they changed their page to this. Much better, because now, again, there's no reason to look at the sides of the page, and there's every reason to look at the body of the page itself. So the page shell is not distracting. But there are a lot of other mistakes that people make, and I use this Macy's homepage as a perfect example. You've probably seen lots of websites like this, but when I point out all of the things wrong with it, you'll see that the page shell is really bad. The first thing is a white header background. Page sides are white, the header's white. There's no contrast. The logo is placed next to the search bar for some reason. It's not where it's supposed to be. You have also promotional offer number 3. This kind of rotating little promotional offer. It says free pickup in store. Like, that's really very important to me. They talk about ags. In the US, at least, you talk about a shopping cart. So always look for standard language. Don't try to be fancy. And then they use very extreme brand colors. In this case, Macy's red and black. So you have black and white, and it's very harsh, high contrast. And then also in the body of the page, I'll talk about this some more in the next section, a giant banner taking up the whole page. And everywhere they're using all capital text, which has been known to be very hard to read and decreases comprehension of reading by about 20 to 30%. So all of the bad things are happening all at once here, but a lot of them have to do with the page shell and the fact that it's not separated from the body of the page. All right, so those are the things not to do. What should you do? Here's some quick guidelines for you. Number 1, avoid distracting backgrounds on the sides of the page. Don't use white as a background, because you need the periphery of the page, the sides of the page, to be more boring, so they shouldn't be as bright and high contrast as the body itself. And that's important in the body pages as well. What you want to do is to have any calls to action really stand out because of the contrast. And if you have low contrast pages, then it's very hard to create that visual emphasis. And then have a clear menu layout and clear labels. And one of the things to remember is always, just even in your use of fonts, to have what I call a clear font hierarchy. In other words, what you want to do is to have important text large and more prominent, and less important text smaller, but you have to prioritize it for me. Everything can't be important. Everything can't be all capitals. If everything's important, then nothing is important. Just a quick reminder as we go on each of the bottoms of the pages that I have here, I'm going to have the EMMS hashtag, so please use that, EMMS 2018, and tell me if you like this or hate it. Both are fine with me. All right, so let's talk about problems with the home page. One of the biggest ones we see are promotions. Somebody says, we have a product launch or an important event, and we're going to talk about it. So Lowe's is a large home improvement store in the US, and they had, before Christmas, this big promotion about Christmas stuff, and you can still pick your orders in stores. Now, this was taken very late on Christmas Eve, so if I'm in front of my computer, I'm not going to run out to Lowe's to pick something up in the store. But somebody thought this was a good idea to have their whole store become one giant banner. Or J. Crew on their site, for example, says 30% off of your entire purchase, and their whole page is about that single promotion and that single banner. And I ask you, is this logical? I don't even know if there's anything I want to buy yet, so knowing that it's 30% off doesn't matter to me. That's not what's important. There's ways to convey that information later in the sales process. Another common problem with home pages is the product display. Here's a website called Adorama, and they do a lot of business selling photographic equipment online, and they probably sell 100,000 items. So one of the things that they've done, though, is the body of their homepage had 12 items. Think about that. Out of the 100,000 plus that they sell, 12 items were displayed. Why those particular 12? I don't know. It's basically nothing better than a guess at what I might want. And the chances are that guess is wrong because of their extremely wide selection. And yet we see this all the time. Okay, so what's the fix to this? Well, you shouldn't try to sell me on the homepage. You should try to get me closer to my goal. Don't sell me on the homepage, get me closer to my goal. So one of their competitors in the body of their page had a category navigation. So if I asked you, does this company sell digital cameras? You could easily say yes. Do they sell flat screen TVs? Again, you would say yes. Do they sell video equipment? Again, you would say yes, because it's very simple to find it. They've done a great job creating a category level graphic. And it's important that it's not a single item, but a picture composed of at least 2 items. And then below that, a label and a drill down that allows you to go down to the category or even subcategory level. So they're not trying to guess. They're not trying to sell me on the homepage. They're getting me closer to my goal. Your homepage should try to sell me. It should try to show me that's the availability and the range of products that you sell, and just get me closer to my goal. So I strongly recommend you only have category navigation on the homepage and not individual items. Another big problem, I'm guessing at least half of you have, is you have a homepage carousel or rotating banner. So I'm going to show you one, and I'm going to ask you some quick questions. What does this company sell? Okay, most of you say TVs. Okay, what does this company sell? Now they sell appliances. What do they sell? I don't know, vacuum cleaners and computers. Now if I ask you, what do they sell? Now you'd probably say they sell Xbox systems. Now if I asked you 2 seconds later, you'd say they sell smartphone upgrades and the shame of not having a modern phone. But that wasn't my real question. My real question to you is, what was behind the question mark on the previous page that I showed you? I bet most of you can't answer that question because you just had the carousel experience. If I go back, you'll see that there was a Olympus Tough digital camera in that lower right corner, and it was there on the previous page. It was there, in fact, on every page that I showed you, but you missed it. And the question is, why did you miss it? You missed it because of motion. Our eyes are designed to tune into any kind of motion. It has survival value. If something is moving quickly in our visual field, we need to know about it now. Everything else that's not moving probably can't kill us this second. So we don't care about it as much. So when you use motion and you take up motion and on your home page with a rotating banner, you're killing the attention. The attention can't be on the rest of the content on your page. You expect me instead to sit through your commercials and each of the frames in your rotating banner. And every time that banner changes, my attention is pulled back to it. I can't not look at motion. People cannot ignore motion. So be very, very careful with motion on your home page. So here's your checklist for your home page to make it better. The first thing you should do is get rid of your carousels as soon as possible. Just get rid of them. I'm often asked, Tim, what should I replace them with? Well, whatever was below them, just move it up the page. I promise you it'll be a better page for that. The other thing that I've emphasized as well, not showing individual products, but showing me the range of products and category level navigation. Now, depending on your store and what you sell, that's a balance. Maybe it's 50-50 permanent navigation and promotions. Maybe it's 75-25. Maybe it's 100% permanent navigation because new items and promotions don't matter that much in your type of business. But it should never be less than 50-50. Remember, people are there to find something. Most of them are not there looking for the latest thing or your latest promotions. So always have permanent category level navigation take up at least 50% of the visible part of the page. Again, remove individual products. Do not show any individual products on your homepage. The only exception to this, and it's not really an e-commerce site, would be something like Apple. Let's say they launched the iPhone 10. Well, that's $1 billion product launch. And yes, it's going to take up their homepage. If you want to find their iPads or laptops, you'll find them, but you'll have to look harder. But for most of you, if you sell a lot of products, you shouldn't have any individual products on the homepage. When you do make those category level images, make sure that they are composites or collages that encompass more than one item. And then also don't forget on your homepage to add trust symbols, the brands you sell, how popular you are, how long you've been in business, any media mentions you've gotten to show that you're credible. Let's go on to category pages next. One of the problems we also see on categories is the same as on the homepage, which is giant banners. This is the REI store. They sell outdoor equipment of various kinds. And look at this giant banner image. It's some guy rock climbing. Now that's very nice, but I really don't need that to know I'm in the climbing gear category because there's a title right below it that says climbing gear. So you've taken the actual content, you've pushed it away with a giant image shot. And all the good stuff on the page, and it's a long page, is pushed down. So that's the real page. But my experience of it is to see one climber and not to be able to get to all of that good content. So what should you do at the top of a category page? Well, what you should do is put useful information. So in this case, this is a website that sells all kinds of high-end outdoor grills. So what do they put at the top of the category page? Find the perfect gas grill. So that's a guide to help you find the right piece of equipment for you. There's also a little video that says guide to shopping gas grills. So now you know what's important and how to find the right one. Then down the page, of course, they have products. But did you see how they put what I call the high impact information at the top of the page? And this depends on what information you have. You might have a wizard and a video, or a wizard, a video, and a downloadable guide, or just a video and a download. So regardless of what combination of useful things you have, you should put that at the top of your category pages. Get rid of that big banner image and put useful information up there that's useful to everyone coming to that category. So here's your checklist. Get rid of the banners. Just use a clear centered page title on the page. The focus should be also here, you don't necessarily want to show products. If you have a deep product line, you might want to do subcategories. So tiles, just like you had on your home page that showed the categories, on the category page, you can have tiles of subcategories. You don't want to expose individual products too early in the process, especially if the selection is significant, especially if there's too much choice. And again, put valuable orientation content at the top, like wizards, videos, or educational downloads. Another important page in the e-commerce experience is actually your search results page. And this one, a lot of times, is where people, if you have a big product line, they're going to come to your site, they're going to type something into your search box, and they're going to get directly to the search results page. And often there are big problems with those search results pages. For example, here, if I say here, pick an area rug, and that's a visual item, so at least they're easy to tell apart. But if I tell you pick an area rug, it would be hard on a page this. By the way, there's the real page on the left. It's really, really long. And guess what? There are 24 pages of search results like this. That's too much choice. So one of the things that we do, we think many of us have often said, I bet you've said this in your business, I'm the Amazon of my category. We have great product selection in our category. Well, don't be so proud of that, especially if your search results pages look like this, because what you're doing is you're overloading me with information. So my suggestion, even on a search results page, is don't show individual products if there are too many of them. Say, look, we found 10,000 products that match what you're looking for. Do you want to filter that some more and get it to a smaller, more useful set? Here's the results that you can filter by. Also, another thing with search pages that you can do to make them more impactful is empty results. There are often cases where someone types something into search and they don't get an answer. That's okay, as long as you're not rude about it. The rude thing to be to say, sorry, we don't have anything you asked for, go away, we hate you. At least be polite and say, hey, we didn't find anything, but here's some related things, okay? And if you have high volume searches that lead to an empty search results, and you should be able to tell this from your logs, then you should probably create a custom page just for that search result. Figure out what to put on it, figure out what you can sell them if they're searching for that. If those custom pages should be something that basically are free money for you. One thing that we also see missing on search results pages is to repeat what they were looking for as a big page title. Don't put it in tiny, tiny little font. You searched for green area rugs. It should be the big fat page title like you have on other pages. And by the way, you might have noticed on that last page that there was a filter down the left-hand side, filter by price, by color, by materials. Sometimes filters are helpful, but if you have a very complicated product selection process, no one's going to use the filtering. In fact, we as marketers are biased towards filtering because we're super users. We're experts in how to navigate websites and e-commerce sites. So if we want to find something quickly, we're kind of like engineers. We go and we use the technical solution, which is the filter. But that's a problem. You really want to use more guided experiences, wizards, simple questions. I have a whole presentation on wizards we don't have time to get to today. But you want to divert them to a wizard which humanizes and makes that product search easier. Don't make them use filters. That's a very artificial thing. It doesn't work. In most cases, we suggest actually getting rid of that left column filtering and using the whole page for the products. And if there are misspellings that are common, we were working with a wine site once, and everybody would misspell the name of French wines, like even the word chateau. Well, if people commonly misspell it a certain way, make sure you get them to the right search results, even if they misspelled it. That's not their problem, that's your problem, and it's costing you money. All right, well, let's go deeper into the search, the e-commerce experience. Let's talk about the product detail page. And there's several issues that there are with product detail pages. One is bad zoom. Here's an example. This is Hugo Boss's website, and they're showing this beautiful dress with the model on the left. And when you hover over it, this is what your experience becomes. That's right. You get this tiny little zoom box that you can zoom around, and it shows you that on the right-hand side. You still don't see the whole product. You don't see it in much more detail. And what are they covering up with that zoomed in image? They're covering up the action block, the part where you buy it and you add it to cart. So it's a really, really bad customer experience on many levels. By contrast, Home Depot does a much better job with this. So here's their product detail page. You have a product on the left, the action block on the right. If you want me to see the product in detail, show me the product in detail. It should be almost a full screen takeover that shows me all of the tiny stuff I can't see on the smaller picture. And then all of the other images are in it, so I can click to any one. When I'm done with that experience, I can close it and I'm back on the product detail page. But take very high resolution pictures of your products if that's appropriate, and do a full screen takeover to show me the details. Another issue that we often have is on product detail pages is upsells or lack of upsells. So for example, this is back to our friends that sell the expensive barbecue grills. The grill costs a certain amount of money, right? But maybe there are options that would make it even better for me and even better for you as the seller, because you can make more money. So notice that the button here on this page doesn't say buy my grill. It says customize my grill. The orange button on the right says customize my grill. And when you click that, you get a series of upsells, in this case, just one. This is what an upsell screen looks like. It actually interrupts your experience, and it says, okay, you've chosen the freestanding grill. That's the built-in grill. That's the one on the left. If you want the freestanding version, you can click on that. And that costs a little more, but it shows you the choice. It educates you about why that choice or that feature is important. And more importantly, it gives you the opportunity to make more money. So don't forget the upsells, okay? Don't have some weird configurator right on the product detail page interrupt me with the experience like this to try to get more money out of me. Another issue that we often see on product detail pages is people are comparison shopping. So they'll look at your store. You're probably not the only one that sells something. They'll look at the competitors, and then they'll look for the cheapest price or whatever else that's of interest to them, shipping costs. So one of the things that you need to do is make sure that if they're leaving, at least on desktop, to also get their attention. A lot of you are not doing this, and it's a very easy thing to implement it. Now you can say, in this case, this exit intent pop-up is triggered by the fact that they have something in their cart. But you can also just say, if they're leaving from a product detail page, you can say, hey, do you want us to email you this page so you don't forget about it? And that would be helpful to some people. So by having an exit intent pop-up, whether it's just for people that have something in the cart or even ones that were just looking at a product detail page, you can take advantage of getting their email and communicating with them afterwards. And this is where things like Doppler and email marketing really come in. You need to do this is shopping cart abandonment and things like this exit intent stuff. Don't forget to get the email. If you don't get the sale, at least get the email and do customized follow-up emails to say, hey, you left this in your cart, or hey, you were looking at this product. In their inbox, it's permanent. Once they've left your website, within 5 minutes, they've forgotten about you. So one of the most important things you can do in e-commerce is get the right to communicate with people and get their email. And this is a perfect experience. You're giving them something useful in exchange for an email. That's the time to ask for it. So here's your checklist for product detail pages. Center the page title. Don't put it just over the product description and not over the image. Center it on the whole page. Have a clear action block with the main call to action. Again, usually that's customize it or add it to cart. Work very hard to keep important information above the fold. In other words, in that first visual screen where people can see it. And don't forget the upsell or customize, to do it in a light box after the product detail page. Don't do it as a configurator with drop-down menus on the page. And then one of the things that we've seen really work well is videos. If you have a video, it describes the product or the product category, add videos. Now you're probably thinking, Tim, I have thousands of products. I can't add a video to every one. Well, you don't have to do that, but you can add it to your most popular products. Most of you are familiar with the 80-20 rule, where maybe 20% of your products result in 80% of your revenue. Well, just do it for your high volume best products. But adding a video will typically increase conversion rate on the product detail page. And this is especially true on mobile. And most of you probably have more and more mobile traffic. We're all used to watching videos on mobile. That's what we do.
La emisión está comenzando. Todos los asistentes están en modo de solo escucha.
Time on mobile. And most of us are used to a video experience on mobile. So use video, especially on mobile. And again, I've talked about exit intent pop-ups, or whether it's save the cart, a discount offer, or just an offer to save the product detail page. Follow-up email marketing is critical. You're leaving money on the table if you're not following up with people after they leave. All right, let's talk about the cart next. The cart is a very important place, and usually you have a lot of problems with it. For the sake of time, I'm going to actually talk about ways to improve the cart. I'm not going to talk about all the things wrong with the cart. So let me just point out some things on this cart that are important. One is prioritize your payment options. In this case, we have secure checkout, which goes to credit card. There's financing, which, because this is an expensive item. Then you see the PayPal or Amazon Pay and PayPal. You might offer a number of different payment methods. Be clear about which ones are important and prioritize them. Don't make them equal importance. Also, this is another place to upsell and cross-sell. So let me show where we're doing that on the page. Right below the main product, you have recommended accessories, and you can see they're indented. And so if there's anything you can use to kind of add value to your product, whether it's a warranty or an accessory, that's another place to ask for it. It would be aggressive if you pre-checked it, but you might want to actually pre-check in some cases, and they have to uncheck it to get rid of it. At the bottom of the page, we also have customers also bought. That's your cross-sells, or other things that you might want them to consider. Definitely do that as well. This is your last chance to get them to buy something. After they start the checkout, there shouldn't be anything that disturbs them. So this is your last chance to try to get them to buy. One very, very, very important thing, and I'll talk about some of these others here, very, very important thing is to make sure that they know the shipping method and the total cost before the checkout. Imagine this. I said, okay, you're going to buy this item and it costs you $1. And you go, great, I'll buy the item. And then you get to the checkout and it costs $50 to ship it to you. How would you feel about that? You'd feel like you were betrayed, like somebody lied to you. So unless you tell them the shipping costs and the shipping method in the cart, at least estimate it. Let's say if you use standard shipping, it's going to be this much. They don't know the all-in price. In other words, what do I have to pay? That's what I really care about. What do I have to pay to get this? So it's at a minimum going to make them feel anxious if they don't know that. And in many cases, if you have high shipping costs, they're going to think that you lied to them or tried to be deceptive. Okay. Also, when you go into the checkout process, it's important to remove the global navigation with all of your product categories and everything else, so that they don't think of going back to the site. You want them now focused on giving you their money and opening their wallet for you. And finally, the coupon codes. I know some of you have to discount and you use coupon codes and promotional codes. Don't make that easy to find. On your page, there should be a small, do you have a coupon code text link? If somebody has a coupon code, they will find that text link. I promise you, it won't be a problem. But if you have a text entry box for coupon codes, that actually will make somebody who doesn't have one think about getting one. So what are they going to do? They're going to leave your site, go to a coupon site, or go to a search engine and look for coupon codes for your site. And guess what? They may never come back. They might go to your competitor sites, and that would be a big problem. So keep them in the experience. Make sure that they know the shipping method and the total cost before the checkout. And finally, the coupon codes. I know some of you have to discount and you use coupon codes. Don't make that easy to find. On your page, there should be a small, do you have a coupon code text link? If somebody has a coupon code, they will find that text link. I promise you, it won't be a problem. But if you have a text entry box for coupon codes, that actually will make somebody who doesn't have one think about getting one. So what are they going to do? They're going to leave your site, go to a coupon site, or go to a search engine and look for coupon codes for your site. And guess what? They may never come back. They might go to your competitor sites. So keep them in the experience. Don't advertise the fact that you have coupon codes. Make it a text link that says have a coupon code. Then it opens up when they click on it on the page into a text input box. And now let's talk about the checkout. Again, I don't have time to go through all the bad things with all the checkouts that we've seen with our clients. So I'm just going to show you what we consider kind of a good starting point for a standard solid checkout. The first thing you need to ask them is how they're going to pay. And the reason this has to be first is in many cases, the payment method determines the rest of the checkout process. So if you have PayPal, for example, or Amazon payment, you no longer are on the site. You're going to go to PayPal or to Amazon to complete that checkout and only then come back to the confirmation page afterwards. So here's the best practice. Start with the billing method. You can have a default most of the time for, at least in the US, it's going to be credit cards. In other countries, it may be different. Germans don't like to pay by credit cards, for example. They like to actually have the money they have on hand and buy it some other way. So whatever your most popular checkout option is and payment option, put that as the default. One other thing to notice is the whole time on this checkout, you're going to see that on the right, we have an order summary. That gives them an assurance of what they're buying, that nothing has changed. They see all the information in summary format in that gray area. After the billing method, then you go to the billing address typically. Because that's finishes the billing task. How do you want to pay and the billing address? And then what you want to do for the shipping address is actually have a default, which is the shipping address is the same as billing. So all they see is a small little checkbox and it's already pre-checked. So all they have to do is hit the continue button. If it's not the same, then they can open it up and then of course it's going to show them the shipping address so they can input it. And finally, don't just say buy it now at this point on the button. It's still a continue step. As you can see here, it's very important to have a review page. The review page is not the same as the confirmation page after they buy it. This is so that they have the opportunity to see everything in one place. They can now see the billing information, they can see the shipping information, they can see the pay information, and the contents of their cart, and the total amount that they're going to pay. And only then do they click the button for place my order. Now we suggest that you have two place my order buttons, one at the top in case you have a short cart with just one item, and another one at the bottom in case you sell normally several items and it's going to scroll off the page. So have the button convenient for them to place their order. So here's a quick checklist of all of the things to do on checkout. Remove the main category to keep them focused. Show the cart summary and safe shopping symbols on the page. Use clear sections, payment, billing, shipping, and order review. And don't require account creation. Many of you have the first screen be, tell us your email and create a password. Why? Take my money. Don't ask me to create an account. And then show progress indicator to show me where I am in the checkout progress. And if somebody makes a mistake, don't make them fill in a form with many, many fields and then click the button and then tell them they made a mistake somewhere on that. Mistakes should be handled in line. They should be handled when you're interacting with a specific input field. If I put in an email address that doesn't look like a correct email address in terms of its format, you should tell me that right away, not when I hit the submit button at the bottom of the page. And one of the things, again, like for abandonment recovery, ask for the email as early in the process as possible. And in our experience with abandonment recovery, 15 to 30% of abandoners in the checkout can be converted to buyers if you get their email and then you email them an abandonment recovery email sequence. We've built those for lots of clients. So ask for the email earlier. And I'm often asked, well, Tim, email earlier is a problem because some people don't want to give up an email. They're just trying to check out. And I say this is an exception to the rule because a small percentage won't want to give you their email, but the value of that, being able to mail more people with the abandonment recovery sequence, is much higher. Okay, so always ask for the email as early in the process as possible. And provide phone and chat support. People are very anxious when they're giving you their money online. So at this stage, it's important to have immediate support. whether it's phone or interactive chat. So please do that. And the confirmation page, this is another opportunity for you to get value. Do social media sharing. They bought something, they might be proud of it. Have them share it on social media. Very important to do that. So let's talk about information architecture, and then we're almost done. One of the things many of you have is giant fly-out menus with lots and lots of sub-menus. Don't do that. Have a small number of top-level menus and more drill down, more levels of sub-menus. So my advice to you would be to keep the number of top-level menu items as small as possible and keep the number of sub-menu items small too. And sometimes you may need 2 or 3 levels of category and subcategory drill down to make things better organized. Simple choices, 2 or 3 extra clicks are not going to hurt you. Also, put all of the low-selling items into a miscellaneous category. Don't give it a lot of top-level categories. The same goes for sale and new arrivals. Those are more important at the subcategory level. They're not important to have at the top level. And don't let SEO dominate how you construct your information architecture. You should just make it useful for the visitor. That's what is most important. In some cases, you may have multiple categories or methods to navigate. Categories versus brand versus a role of who you are coming to the site. It's okay to have multiple types of navigation as well. All right, well, we're almost done. I want to take it to question and answer, but before I do, again, just some information about us. As the host mentioned, we've created over $1.2 billion in value for companies around the world. We'd love to help you as well. One of the things I'm doing, and you should do this right now, is we're offering some e-commerce strategy reviews, no cost. So if you're doing over $5 million a year online, the first 5 people that do this are going to get a free e-commerce strategy review. You have to email tim@sitetuners.com with the subject line e-commerce strategy review. So if you do that and you're one of the first 5, we will be glad to have one of our experts have a consultation with you. So I think we're ready for questions and answers. I'm just going to put up contact information and then throw it back to the hosts.
It was an amazing speaking presentation. We hope that all of you guys took your notes. We were wondering if you have any questions, so don't hesitate on using the hashtag EMMS 2019. We are going to be answering right now. So we have the first one, Ennio, right?
Yes, actually, we have a lot of checklists, right? A lot of checklists and a lot of brands that have been helped by site tuners, which is a great news, right? But we have the first question is how to identify the insights through digital channels.
Well,
I'm not sure I understand that exactly.
Actually, I think, yeah.
Like how problems with your website? Or,
no, I think it's insights.
Insights.
Customers' insights. How can we
okay. Well, we're big fans of informal usability testing. So use something like user testing and have a task for them to complete. Let's say you sell shoes, okay? And you say, find the least expensive pair of red high-heeled shoes on our site, and you have 2 minutes. And then you record the user sessions, and you can get insights about what customers or prospects are doing that way. And then you can ask them a few questions about it afterwards. But it's important with usability to just watch them do the task. And to put some time pressure on them too. Normally people wouldn't spend a lot of time or attention. So say you have 30 seconds or 1 minute to do the following task and just watch what they do.
Right. And I saw that you have a lot of customization things that we have to go through when we have an e-commerce. You know, a lot of people when they're probably beginning with a business online, they use a lot of templates that are like done.
Yes.
And that's like kind of hard sometimes. How can we accomplish all those checklists and actually be successful?
Yeah, that's a fair question. So a lot of times what you'll find is your e-commerce software is actually what's holding you back. Their templates are too inflexible, or the default templates are bad, and you can't customize certain things. For example, having an upsell in the form of a pop-up dialog box from the product detail page. So some of those things require customization. So if you're a small business, your focus has to be on just doing all of the usability and the page layout stuff well. You won't get the fancy features. For larger businesses, you might have to code some of your own custom stuff to make this work on top of the basic e-commerce platform. But get the basics right first. There's a lot of things you can do without customization, just removing distractions, giant banners, things like that, or changing the layout and focus of things.
Great. Yes. I mean, I asked that because I know that a lot of people that are watching us right now are actually beginning or trying to make like a business online, and they know that I have to do it right in the right way, and they want to try not to miss any chance of making those conversions. And sometimes, as you said, it's hard because using templates on WooCommerce and Magento.
Yeah, but even the templates, most of the things we're recommending are to make things simpler. Most of the templates are very crowded and they have a lot of information on them. So if you can turn things off or make them less visible, think about it as having the visual priorities on each of the pages we talked about have to be right. You just have to ask, what's the purpose of the page, and am I focusing people's attention on that? And get rid of distractions and add focus to the important stuff.
Well, great. And we are still having some answers.
Yes, our teammates are writing them down, and they're about to give them. So don't, as I was saying, don't hesitate on giving us your questions. So team is here right now. We are live, and we are almost 9,000 people live now. That's amazing. It's crazy. Thank you for all of them, that they are our audience, for being part of it, and thanks to you, Tim, for this amazing conference. So we have the next question.
You want to say something, Tim?
No, please go on.
Okay, well, if you have to choose one commerce who follow your best practices, who would that be?
Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, it's very different depending on the business that you're in. There are individual features that we like on many sites, but very few people do it well. Don't copy others. Especially, this is a warning, don't copy Amazon. Amazon does things for their own reasons. The reason Amazon is successful is because of their one-click checkout and their free shipping and their giant product selection and all of that stuff. Those are their advantages, their distribution. So just because Amazon does it, don't copy them. In fact, don't copy anyone. Try to do what's right for your business. There is no single answer.
Maybe take some ideas, right? Maybe take some ideas, but not copy, because as you were saying, every business is different, right?
Yes, and they have different priorities. They might want to get only luxury clients, or they might want to get the highest volume possible to grow market share. You don't know what they're doing. Also, a lot of the competitive advantage is using email marketing behind the scenes, whether it's to your past clients, to shopping cart abandoners, marketing automation sequences. If they download a buyer's guide, then you have a follow-up sequence to try to sell them after that. So email marketing is also important. In other words, the important stuff is not always visible on their website. If I do personalization of the website content, you won't see that unless you're having it personalized for you. And likewise, you don't see the very powerful email marketing that many of these companies are doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's right, actually. And we know that email marketing is one of the biggest channels for ROI, the one that has the highest ROI, return of investment. And I think it's pretty neat that you said that. Actually, we have another question from one of our media partners, and they say, could you tell us the 3 or 5 best practices with better immediate results on e-commerce? Like if I want to, I know that we have like 10 checklists, like a lot of work to be done, but if I want to have an immediate change.
Okay, so if you want a quick fix, get rid of the rotating banner on your homepage. I guarantee that will improve your business, and replace it with category level tiles that have a composite image of several products that are the most distinctive in each category. So go look at the homepage example I was talking about, and see the one with the category tiles. That's what should be on your homepage. Get rid of your promotional banners. No one is there to watch a commercial on your homepage.
Okay. That's something to keep in mind.
Yep.
Mental notes. We have another one. What's your opinion about the incorporation of chatbot on the sites? Yes, or on your e-commerce?
Okay, so let's talk about two different things: live chat and chatbots, because I want to cover both. Chatbots, in limited circumstances, they're getting more sophisticated. The AI is getting good. They're much more conversational these days. So the nice thing about chatbots is that's completely scalable. I mean, yes, you have to pay for the chatbot, but it's a technology-based solution. Of course, real people are more important. If you have a high cost item that's customized and people aren't very familiar, for example, the high-end grills that I was showing as an example, if something costs thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, then you want live people on the chat, and they have to be experts. Don't put some, your entry level, lowest paid person with no training to do your chat because you don't want to do it. You have to have experts. So a lot of times you can't get away with chatbots. They want product knowledge, and that only comes inside of people. Okay. If you're going to do that, a couple of quick notes: you need to make sure it's staffed properly so people aren't waiting. If you have to wait even 10 seconds to get a chat reply, that's too long. So if you can't staff the chat, don't do it. Okay.
So is it important to hire a digital analyst or something, or do you think it's...
No, this could be someone on your staff. It could be your customer support person. It could be the same person that handles your returns, because they have a lot of product knowledge. So look inside of your company for people that are experts.
That's great.
Well, we have a lot of questions to be answered, but we actually want to suggest that you follow Tim through Twitter. You have your Twitter account on your screen, which is Tim_Ash. You can follow him. He's always like sharing a lot of knowledge and new techniques and stuff to implement. But yeah, thanks to all the people that asked and actually took advantage of this opportunity to actually get in touch with you. I invite them to follow you through your networks and your social media, and actually follow your work, and actually to read your book. What was the name again of the new book?
Well, my book, my second edition, you see, as saw there, is called Landing Page Optimization, and that's been a bestseller and translated into 6 languages. You can see the cover there, but unfortunately not Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, Chinese, German, Russian,
It's
Polish.
something that needs to be done. Our audience is waiting. I think our audience will be willing to...
Maybe the people from Hispano who are actually translated in this very moment, they can help us with it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, or the new book. Like I said, my new book is going to be called Unleashing the Primal Brain, a field guide for the modern marketer. That one's coming out next year, and I do plan to have a Spanish edition of that.
Great, great. Well, thank you a lot, Tim. As I said, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. So maybe you're going to have some time to actually answer each one on Twitter. Yes. We have a lot of speakers that have told us that after the EMMS, we have, I don't know, like thousands of mentions, and they have to like go and answer each. But I don't know if you do it, but
I'll try to answer some on Twitter. So tweet at me, Tim_Ash, and with the hashtag EMMS 2018.
Okay, people,
okay.
You do that.
Okay, so we have one last question. Any recommendation for small entrepreneurs who doesn't have enough budget to build an e-commerce?
Yes, there's a wide range of e-commerce platforms available, from big enterprise ones to small ones, probably 200-300 different software packages that I've heard of. But you don't need anything fancy. At the beginning, you probably already have a website, and the most popular platform by far is WordPress, and WordPress offers a number of third-party plugins to enable e-commerce on a WordPress site. So I'd say just start out with one of those. You just get WordPress and use one of the e-commerce plugins.
Yes, exactly. And
well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the EMMS 2018. Thank you for being the first speaker and for being the first English speaker. this
the opening keynote and the first English spoken speaker. That's amazing. And we are so happy that you were a part of it. The time to say goodbye has come, but we have a lot more of the EMMS 2018.